Hello everyone. We'll now discuss stanza 3rd, 4th and 5th of the first canto of Ode to the West Wind by P.B. Shelley. We have already discussed the first and second stanza. Now we shall begin with the third stanza. In the third stanza, Shelley writes, "The winged seeds, where they lie, cold and low, each like a corpse within its grave, until thine azure sister of the spring shall blow." So Shelley writes that the winged seeds, where they lie cold and slow. We will see this in continuation with the sixth line. O thou west wind, who chariotist carries them in its chariot to the dark wintry bed, the winged seeds. The west wind takes away the winged seeds to there and buries them below the dark wintry bed as if they were buried in a grave. The winged seeds. Some of the seeds have wings or wings-like growth structures. This is an adaptation of nature for the purpose of dispersal of seeds. This enables the seeds to be carried away to far off places where they can grow, and far off distances they are carried to far off distances by the wind. So such seeds which have wings and even others are carried away by the west wind, where they lie cold and low. The cold because the season is cold, and low because they are buried under the ground. Now each like a corpse within its grave. Shelley writes that each seed lies like a corpse. Corpse means a dead body which is lying in its grave. So the seeds are buried under the earth as if they are buried underground. Until thine azure sister of the spring, he says that these seeds keep lying underground until thine means the west winds, thine, yours. He says that until the azure sister, azure stands for blue color, the blue sister of the west wind is the wind which blows during the spring season. So until the wind of the spring season shall blow her clarion, or trumpet, these seeds will keep lying buried under the ground. In the second stanza, we see how Shelley explains how the west wind carries the dead and dried leaves. In the third stanza, we see how it carries away the seeds which have wings and it buries them. So we see that in the third stanza, the poet continues the metaphor of the leaves as the dead by explaining that the west wind takes them away, that is, the takes or carries the dried leaves away as well as the winged seeds to their graves, to the graves of these seeds where they are buried cold and low below the ground. Next, he uses a simile to compare every leaf to a dead body or a corpse which is lying within its grave. The poet now says that each seed is like a dead body and it will lie there until the wind will come and taking away the dead, but though the wind carries away the dead leaves, but it brings new life, because now new plants will come out of the seeds which are buried underground. Shelley uses the word azure. Azure means blue, in order to describe the wind. That is, this color is in sharp contrast to the colors used to describe the leaves, because this wind is associated with the spring season. The wind which blows during the spring season is the warm west wind of the spring. So, the epithet azure refers to the blue skied regions, the places, areas from where this wind comes, that is, this wind blows. We see that a characteristic feature of these lines is that the rich and quickly changing metaphors. There are a number of metaphors: chariotist, bed, winged, lie cold and low, blow her clarion, dreaming, driving sweet buds like flocks, living. These follow one another in a very quick succession, and still, though they make a unified impression, we feel that the poem is one long sentence with long parenthetical asides. Continuing from the fourth stanza, from the third stanza, the poet continues to rhyme, "Thine azure sister of the spring shall blow her clarion over the dreaming earth." That is, the azure sister or blue sister of the spring will blow her clarion or trumpet in order to awaken the seeds over the dreaming earth. The earth is dreaming, or the earth is sleeping, that is, the seeds are lying buried under the earth. So the wind which flows during the spring season blows its carrion and wakes up the seeds. This happens only when the winds during the spring season start blowing. So till then, the seeds remain buried under the ground. So, blow her clarion, the spring shall blow her clarion, indicates that it is like an angel blowing its trumpet in order to wake the dead people on the day of judgment. So in bracket he writes, driving sweet buds like flocks to feed in air. So this wind during the spring season drives sweet buds like flocks to feed in the air. These buds feed in the air. A number of flowers bud and bloom, and it appears as though they are feeding in the air. With living hues and odors, plain and hill. He says that the west wind drives away death, buries the dead, and also brings new life. It brings living hues, living colors, beautiful colors, and odors and smell of the flowers on plains as well as hills on the earth. In the fifth stanza, which is a couplet that has 2 lines, Shelley writes, wild spirit, which art moving everywhere, destroyer and preserver, hear, O hear. He addresses the west wind as a wild spirit. Wild, which is uncontrollable and destroys things, nobody can control it. and he calls it a spirit also. Now he has started considering the west wind as a spirit, that is, which someone who has spiritual powers. And he says, which art moving everywhere, which is moving everywhere. He says that the west wind is like a wild spirit which is going around everywhere in the whole world. Then he says, destroyer and preserver, hear, O hear. He calls the west wind as a destroyer as well as a preserver. He calls the west wind as a destroyer because the west wind destroys the leaves. And then he calls the west wind a preserver too. The west wind is a preserver because it preserves the seeds. The seeds are preserved underground, from where they may come to life again in the spring season, which just comes after the autumn season. The stanza ends with "Hear, O hear." That is, the poet appeals to the wind, the west wind, whom he calls a wild spirit, to listen to him. So, he views the west wind as a spiritual being who destroys as well as creates life. So, he asks the spirit to listen to his plea. Though in this stanza he does not make a specific plea or a specific request to the wind that what he wishes out of the wind, but it is clear from this stanza that he views the west wind as a very powerful spiritual being that can listen to him and make his dreams come true or fulfill his dreams. Thus, we see that in this cantos of Ode to the West Wind, Shelley refers to the west wind as the breath of autumn and also a magician, a transformer in and the world, and an invisible enchanter from whom the ghostly or dead leaves scurry or run away. Shelley also speaks of the autumn leaves as pestilence-stricken multitudes, and that the great powerful wind blows them to the dark wintry bed or graves. He finds these intermixed with these leaves the seeds, the winged seeds that will soon be awakened from their death like sleep under the ground, by the azure sister of the spring. And this wind from the warm south during the spring will open up the buds whose flowers feed on the sweet springtime air, as if they were a flock of sheep which feeds on pasture or green grasslands. In the end, in the couplet, the poet calls out to praise the wildness of the west wind, and he calls it a destroyer as well as a preserver. He sees the west wind as the force that must listen to his cry also for the transformation of the world, for the transformation of the society, and it is his cry which he had made more directly in his other poems like Sonnet, England in 1819. But in Ode to the West Wind, Shelley oxymoronically portrays the wind as something that at once preserves the world from destruction and destroys the existing order, that is, waging war against humanity. Thank you.